Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, good night, wherever you are. I am Patricia Miloslavich. I am the Executive Director of the Scientific Committee on Oceanic Research SCORE, and I'm going to be presenting today an update of the activities of SCORE and also what is the status. So I'm going to share my screen now. There you go. So the Scientific Committee on Oceanic Research, so in preparation for the annual meeting, which will be held next week from the 20th to the 22nd of October, here's an introduction of the activities that SCORE has been carrying out in the last year. So just to put everyone up to speed, SCORE is about advancing ocean science across disciplines and through international cooperation. SCORE was founded in 1957, so it has a long trajectory. Goals of SCORE are to address global science issues on the ocean. It plans, conducts research to solve methodological and conceptual problems, but it also builds capacity all along the way at each of the steps, from planning to development to synthesis and so forth. How the SCORE does this? So basically, SCORE supports international working groups and large-scale projects. SCORE engages national committees. There are currently more than 30, which along with funding agencies and foundations provide key support to SCORE activities. Some of these activities are to develop capacity through 3 different programs, which are the Visiting Scholar, Fellowships, and also by providing travel support for scientists from developing countries. Of course, it relies on international collaboration and partnership with project offices supported by different countries, including Australia, Canada, China, France, Germany, Japan, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Poland, Sweden, the UK, and the US. And of course, some of our international partners and collaborators are those whose logos are below. The engagement of SCORE with the community is very strong. SCORE promotes equity, diversity, and inclusion of everyone in ocean sciences. It encourages and supports the involvement of students and early career scientists in its different working groups and projects, and especially in its capacity development activities. SCORE also co-sponsors the Ocean Knowledge Action Network with Future Earth, which brings together networks of scientists across disciplines in ocean science. SCORE, of course, is a contributor to the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development and has been approved as an observer for the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission and also for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So as a mind map of what is SCORE currently doing, SCORE has, well, its heart and blood is basically the circle up on the top, which includes the working groups, the research projects, the infrastructural projects, and capacity development. There are currently 13 active working groups and for a total throughout its history of 159. And we hope that this year we will get 2 new working groups at least. There are currently 5 research projects under SCORE, which are geotraces, studying marine biochemistry of trace elements, IMBER on biosphere, SOLAS on the interactions between the ocean and the atmosphere, the International Quiet Ocean Experiment, studying sound landscapes, the International Indian Ocean Expedition #2 on Indian Ocean processes. Then on the infrastructural project side, we have the International Ocean Carbon Coordination Project, studying the global of carbon cycle, the Southern Ocean Observing System on Southern Ocean dynamics, the Global Hub, understanding and predicting harmful algal blooms, COPS, or changing ocean biological systems, which is about studying multi-stressors on the biota, and the Joint Commission on Seawater. We also have 3 affiliated projects, which include InterReach, which studies the formation and evolution of the oceanic crust and interaction with the ocean, and Biosphere, the Global Alliance of the Continuous Plankton Recorders, studying plankton communities throughout the global ocean, and the International Color Carbon Coordination Group, which is applying remote sensing to ocean understanding, ocean color. And again, all of this is done, many of them in collaboration with our contributors. So where do we stand now? All of these activities are done by people, and the people in the SCORE community at the moment are represented by around 400 and something active between the working groups, scientists, and the chairs and members of steering committees. And this is about the distribution. So still most of the people in SCORE are from the US, from the UK, from Germany, Australia, France. And the proportion on gender balance is around 38 women and 62% male. But we get each time more early careers, and as we get more early careers, the proportion is swifting towards having more representation of women. So as you can see, it is quite a global representation with people from many different countries. There are almost 50 countries represented in the working groups and the project SSCs. So this is quite interesting because this has allowed many of the countries that otherwise would not have interacted too much internationally to actually interact with much more. In the graph of the left, we see how many interactions with how many countries each of the countries in the bar of the left are interacting. So one country can interact up to with other 40 countries because that's the number of countries we have, depending on how many working groups or projects they are involved. And in the spaghetti diagram you have on the right, it's pretty much on the left column all the projects and working groups, while on the right you have the countries. And you can see that all of the countries interact with pretty much many of the programs and projects throughout the SCORE community. So this has a multiplying effect that is very far-reaching. One of the important activities we had this year was the recruitment for our executive committee of an early career scientist. And we put out a call, and 39 applications were received, of which 34% were from women. And these applications came from 21 countries. The applications were reviewed by 3 members, and they were ranked. The top 3 candidates were interviewed by the SCORE president, secretary, and vice president. And the selected applicant is Charlotte Laufkotter. She's from the university, the Bern University in Switzerland. Her area of expertise is marine biochemistry, especially in biological carbon cycle and plankton community. So we give a warm welcome to her. Other activities now going through the working groups is that, well, as you know, working groups usually meet once a year, and because of the pandemic, this has been quite limited. However, some of our working groups were very lucky to meet before the closing of everything. This includes a deep sea decade working group, which met in January, and all of the working groups that met at Ocean Science. The rest of the working groups have pretty much managed to do their work virtually, so they have had virtual meetings, and some of them have really postponed their face-to-face meeting for next year. With regard to the projects, none of them was able to meet before the close down. So all of them, the SSCs, the scientific steering committees, met virtually along different months through different modalities, 2 hours or 3 hours each day, spread out through 1 week or 2 weeks or even a full month. One of them is still going to happen later on in the year. So basically that was pretty much on track. Other important news from the projects is that there were a lot of renovations in the scientific steering committee. So GeoTraces, SOLAS, INVER had renovations on their steering committees. COPS on the multi-stressor is transitioning from a working group and project and is proposing new terms of reference and a new membership. Global Hub has new scientific steering committee members, which will lead sub-working groups and specific tasks. So in general, all of the projects are being very, very dynamic and very active, and you will be hearing more about each of them during the meeting. Then with regards to capacity development, we have, as I mentioned before, three main activities. For the SCORE visiting scholars, 5 were approved for 2009 and 1 completed its trip after the 2019 SCORE annual meeting. And this was Brian Helmut, the photographs are shown below, who traveled from the US to Argentina for about a week. The call is now open for 2021. And for 2020, there were 6 visiting scholars approved. None was able to travel, but these will be rescheduled for next year. As for the POGO SCORE fellowships, we received for 2020, 45 applications, of which 40% were from women and from 25 countries in total. There were 5 candidates approved, coming from India, Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, and Morocco. None was able to travel this year, so all of this travel will be rescheduled for 2021. As for travel support, we have the good news that our travel capacity development grant submitted to NSF was approved for 3 years. So we will be able to continue with this very important program for the next 3 years. For this year, we received 8+1 requests to support travel registration or cruise participation for different events, including the World Conference on Marine Biodiversity, a conference on Copepoda, a working group summer school, the INVER Climeco, an international harmful algal bloom conference, and a GeoTraces cruise. These were approved, and we hope that whatever the modality for the conference will be, this will help the students. And then the research discovery camps, which are supported by the Aguron Institute and Siemens Foundation, was postponed to 2021. This one takes place in Namibia. So as SCORE contribution to science, of course, there are many. Last year, the Oceanops conference compiled many papers as a special volume in Frontiers of Marine Science, and SCORE's contributions to this volume were really outstanding, with several working groups contributing on how they can deliver sustained, coordinated, integrated observations about their topics to the observing system. These papers constitute really a gold mine for whoever wants to study ocean processes. Furthermore, this year at Ocean Science, the SCORE community was very, very active. There were, as I mentioned before, several working group meetings. The working groups on chemical speciation, on iron model intercomparison, chlorophyll fluorescence, and zooplankton, and also metabar coding, and also the plankton observations met at Ocean Science. There were several special sessions organized by GeoTraces, INVER, the IOCCP, and working groups. There were tutorials in which the scientists would actually help early careers on a one-on-one or on a bigger audience to manage their websites, the data, live demonstrations. SCORE also had a booth, which was very successful. The pictures are below, and which became really like a relaxing place for people to come and have really interesting conversations about what's going on and how They can engage more, and a lot of students came. So finally, I just have to report that in terms of publications from since last meeting in Toyama and up to now, there's around 30 publications between the working groups and the IOCCP that actually acknowledge SCORE, and you can check on them at the website. For the other projects, you can check directly on their websites. Then there have also been some changes in national committees and nominated members. So Belgium, China, Beijing, Israel, Mexico, Netherlands, Poland, Turkey, USA have all renovated their composition of membership or brought new members when there were not 3. And I announced that Colombia has joined SCORE, and we have then 3 nominated members from Colombia. The institution that will represent Colombia before SCORE is the National Institute for Marine Science, or INVIMAR. As for finances, you will hear more by the Finance Committee, which was appointed for this year. And they basically will report based on the review of the SCORE income and expense final post-audit report from January-December 2019, the charts of SCORE finances, the 2020 budget, what was approved and what we actually spent, and the proposed 2021 budget. I just want to say that, well, the dues income from membership is on track, and we actually now, today, have 90% of the dues coming from the different countries, which is great. These cover the cost of the secretariat, the annual SCORE meeting, and some working group activities, so it's key for the functioning of SCORE. SCORE also depends on grant funding for large-scale projects, the ocean carbon activities, and some working groups. And SCORE currently has, it's now on a 3rd year of a 3-year grant from NSF to fund this activity, so we will prepare next year to submit another grant. We're also in the no-cost extension of a grant on capacity building, and also in the 1st year of a 3-year grant to support capacity building in ocean science. I also have to say that due to the COVID-19 situation, as I mentioned before, many of the meetings were virtual, so there was a lot of budget that was underspent. But as the groups do these requests and have their concerns about how this will work, we've have let them know that they will have this no-cost extension in which they can postpone if they want to have the face-to-face meeting the year after their activities. That's perfectly fine, and we will be very understanding and adaptable to that. As for communication, well, we have our website, which gets around 1,900 visits and 4,500 views per month. You can see there all the information for the next annual meeting is actually there, and you can click on each by the agenda point by point. You have all the reports, and you have narrated presentations like this one for many of the working group activities and project activities. For the Twitter, we have been raising and working hard to get more followers. We have currently 800 followers, and you can see there a map of the distribution where most of our followers are. So you can see that we are reaching pretty much everywhere. With a Facebook group, which is more informal, but still we share many news through the Facebook channels. We have, well, gone from a very few hundred members to 1.4K members, and you see the map on the right where we get most of our followers. First country following Facebook posts is India, followed by the US, and then the UK, and then, well, we have pretty much all over the world. And of course, we have the newsletter. We do 3 a year, and the next one will be issued after the SCORE annual meeting. So as for my activities, well, I try to keep everything together. So I spend my time basically doing 6 activities. Well, the first one is about working on the SCORE organization, the SCORE community, working with the working groups, projects, organizations, partners, national committees, doing office work, the safeguarding of all our files, providing secretarial support to the executive committee, facilitating recruitment of the early career scientists. I also spend my time in SCORE administration and finances, working on the budget, banking, financial reporting. We provide monthly and quarterly reports to the executive, working on grant submission, facilitating the annual auditing, which just concluded and was held 100% online and virtually. And I have, of course, regular communication with our major sponsors. I also spend a lot of time in project and working group management, with regular communication with projects and working groups, assisting in the renewal of the SSC members for the projects, participating in the SSC meetings and calls, advising on the new working group proponents, and of course having regular communication with the XOR executive. I am behind a lot of that communication that you saw on Twitter and Facebook and on the website and on the newsletter. So developing and communicating general SCORE presentations, posters, responding to requests from the community, participating in calls, reviewing applications and proposals, especially on capacity building, and also doing some community services for NASA. Communicate SCORE-related or relevant news regular by email, Facebook, Twitter, newsletter, and continuously updating the website. I also do a lot of regular training with Ed Urban, who really has been great in this transition. And he says he's retired, but of course he hasn't retired. He's still there, responding to emails every day, at any time of the day. And then I'm also working on contribution to some scientific papers that I had on the pipeline. One is on building capacity for ocean science and technology for a book that's being actually edited by Ed Urban and Benno Itekot. And the other three papers led by Maury Estes, Erin Satterwhite, and Alex Rogers are all on the importance of life in the sea, establishing the foundation for the global observing system for marine life, and the one with Rogers based on the blue paper we presented on critical habits and biodiversity for the high-level panel on blue economy. So that's basically what I have to tell you, and thank you very much, and I really look forward to seeing you all next week at the SCORE annual meeting. Thank you, and bye-bye.